Hi YouTube, I'm Donoran. Here's another chess video that I'm posting. It's recommended for intermediate to advanced players, and I consider myself an intermediate player, not advanced. It's recommended that you memorize certain games of grandmasters. Some people recommend that you choose one specific person. I've chosen one specific system to memorize, and that's the London system. It's easy to play. If you clicked on this video, you're probably familiar with it, and this is a very good example of the power of the London system. So I'm not going to go through all of the intricate moves to open the London system, because there's a lot of videos in YouTube. Now I can't remember exactly who played this game. I remember it a while ago, but I believe white is Gadakamsky or Kamsky. Not sure who the opponent is, and I'm not sure the year, but it's a very, very good London system to play. Example of the London system. So typical opening. I'm just going to go through the moves here. Pretty standard. Okay, and this is a position where, if you've seen the London system, black will challenge your dark square bishop. If you foolishly, as white, trade it off, black will take back with the queen and have a nicely developed queen on an active square. So you don't want to do that. So very typical in the London system is bishop back to g3. If black takes that bishop, you take back with the h-pawn, and you have an open file for your rook, which becomes very powerful, especially if black is castled kingside. So white doesn't take, moves his bishop back, and black continues developing. So this is also an important move in the London system for black, is challenging the center with c5. And I've noticed that this particular setup for black against the London system is very similar to the Queen's Gambit declined for white. So if you play Queen's Gambit declined, or you play the Queen's Gambit as white, you'll be comfortable playing the London system against the London system as black. White continues to strengthen its center. Black castles. White plays bishop d3. And now we get into, this is a very typical setup. I've seen this in my games. Very, very typical. And now we get into sort of where black can deviate, and what black does is black plays queen to e7, with the idea of pushing d5. And you don't want that to happen, because you generally want to stop your opponent's plans. So another very typical thing of the London system is knight on e5. And this is why you don't want to exchange your pawn in the middle, because you want your d-pawn to be an outpost for your knight. Very typical idea, and that's a powerful spot for your knight. Black, of course, doesn't want that, so he plays knight d7. With the idea of exchanging it off. And this is where the brilliance of Gadakamsky shines through. That's why he's a grandmaster and I'm not. Because he initiates a series of exchanges which look very basic, look very normal, and everything seems to be equal, but it's not, because he ends up, after the exchanges, launches an attack. So I'll just go through the exchanges pretty quick. Knight takes knight, bishop takes knight. Your dark squared bishop exchanges off the dark squared bishop, which you didn't want to do earlier. The queen takes back, and your pawn takes, queen takes back. So even though those exchanging your bishop and getting the queen and black to an active square you didn't want to do earlier, Gadakamsky wanted to do now. And so what's about to happen is something that happens quite a bit in chess, also in the London system in particular, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's the Greek gift. I generally tend to use it when it doesn't work, but this move by a grandmaster shows when it does. So black is forced to take back, and white gives a check with the queen. And black is forced to move back. Now this is one of the brilliant moves in this particular game. It's why I memorized it. It's something I wanted to stick in my head, because what you want to do as black in the London system a lot of the time is get your knight to g5. Now generally speaking, that can be your f knight, or your f knight. In this case, that knight's gone. So you have a knight on d2, and you want it to get to g5. But you can't go via f3, even though you can still get there. Because if you go via f3, black then has time to gain counterplay. But what Kamsky plays here is a very brilliant move. Knight to e4, attacking the black queen, pinning the d pawn, so it can't take the knight. So in this case, it forces the queen to move. Oh, sorry. I hit back there. It forces the queen to move, which gives white time to continue its very powerful attack. So queen to c4, and now the knight to g5. Now in this case, black really only has one option, and that's to get the rook, the f8 rook out of there. So he plays rook on f8 to d8. And now white has a very powerful attack. Queen takes, forcing the king into the corner, and then the queen comes back. But the powerful attack can't begin yet, because I can't look at this and know that the king would escape if I just continue to attack with my knight and my queen, but Kamsky can. And that's why he's way better than me. But there's a very important move that he has to make here, and that's this move, rook to d1. And we'll see why that's important later. But this gives black a chance to sort of gain counterplay. So he pushes e5, which is not a good move, as you can see. The computer did not like it, because this allows another brilliant move. Queen f7. Now the queen was just there, I know, but the game has changed a little bit. When the queen was there before, there was a pawn on e6. Now it's no longer there. So he forces the king in the corner and now plays e4, which is a brilliant move because it's pinning this pawn. Pawn can't take. Black will lose its queen. And it's an important piece for the rook on d1, as we'll see later. So black really doesn't have a whole lot of options here. And what black decides to do is give up a piece in exchange for some counterplay. So he plays knight to e7, and white decides it's safe to take. Black then plays bishop to b5, and there's a checkmate threat on e2, which I'm sure Kamsky saw and deals with very easily. Rook to d2. Black decides to take the a pawn, and now white moves back to f7, so he can continue his attack that he was going to launch before, but when he didn't have the rook on the d5, it wouldn't have worked then. Black checks, white defends with the rook, black takes the b2 pawn. And now there's a sequence of moves that are forcing that, black's done here. Queen checks, only one square for the king. Queen to h7, only one square for the king. Queen to h8, only one square for the king. You can take the pawn with a check on g7, and there's two squares for the king. But if you play e8, it's insta checkmate. So then the king is forced to d6, and that's where the rook on the d file, the pawn on e4 come into play. Pawn puts the king in check, and I believe it's here where black resigned. It might be a move ahead, but this is where I got to. So this is the first game I memorized because there's three very key concepts in there. The Greek gift, and the two pins that I thought were brilliant. So I hope you enjoyed this. There's going to be more chess videos from me. I'm Donoran. Peace out, YouTube.